It's Diana here.
And Caroline.
And Nastassia.
My beautiful girls were back in, by popular demand because we're so cool you cannot get enough of us. So we're back.
Yep.
I like to think that.
Gang's all here.
So basically today, I have this fancy gadget. No papers anymore. So, I kind of upscaled. I'm in digital tech company and that's what we're all about.
BFROW attitude, what?
You know what I'm saying? 2019, turning page 2020, here I come. So today, actually, we're going to be discussing something that you always ask about. It's all about the shmoney, right? It's all about that shmoney. Yeah, everyone's always interested about how much money influencers and content creators earn, how to make money on Instagram. It's pretty much all about that kind of dope loot. So we're just gonna start with all these prices that I found online, because whenever a girl is in trouble or doesn't know what the hell is going on, she goes on the internet.
So you just
First stop.
What does it cost?
Literally,
What can I make?
Oh, really? I mean,
yeah,
literally.
literally.
The best first, if you don't have somebody to ask, there's always
Google.
Absolutely, I was just like,
I type in all sorts of questions.
Yeah.
It's like Google that shit, what's the average cost of influencers based on the type of work they do.
Ooh.
So they say that important to know that these numbers aren't set in stone, they're just averages. But they're pretty kind of, it's a massive spread out. So basically they say micro-influencer. So per se, again, last time we were discussed about micro-influencers, I think, we have to talk about this again, because every time I try to define it by what is defined online by micro-influencers, they say under 10K, but I don't think that's kind of true anymore.
It's under 100,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because that's changed, because probably 5 years ago it was 10K.
Under, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
There's
There's
under
like
10K.
That's a different subset
That's not
now.
even.
They have their own name. Yes.
Sorry.
Oh my
guys. Yes,
I know.
they have over
I know.
50% return
I know.
on. Anyways, they have a different. It's crazy
true.
because
Under 10K.
Under 10,000. Yeah. So
Yeah.
they have a different subset. I've forgotten what the name is. We'll have to.
They have
figure
a new
that out.
name?
But yeah, there's a different
No way.
subset. It's like micro.
I love this.
No, they have their own name though. I think. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure.
Beautiful.
If they don't,
Let's
let's make it
Google
up
it.
right here, right
No, let's just
now.
Google it.
It's amazing, micro-influencers.
No, seriously though,
No, but-
there's,
but
I mean,
true.
as time goes
Okay.
on, clearly Google says there's a lot of research around this, and there's a lot, thankfully, of information coming out. There's, so we can keep researching.
Yeah.
Let's start with the juice. Here we go, micro-influencers. And we kind of said now,
Okay.
micro-influencer under 100K. It says here from $80 to $500 per piece of content.
80 to 500.
That's pretty low, right?
For 1,000 to 100,000. Or 1,000 to 90,000.
You can't even,
That's what I mean,
Can't even.
right?
no.
But I think it depends on the person
Mm-hmm.
because especially if this is one of 5 side hustles, that's a nice chunk of change. If this is your dedicated brand, probably not.
Yeah, true.
Probably not.
I think this is the hardest one for micro-influencers, because as you said, lots of them are kind of in this gray area between being professional and being semi-pro or just doing it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people treat it as a serious activity or profession even, whereas when the influence actually grows, then all of a sudden they kind of start to change their minds. It actually happened to a lot of people I'm friends with and a lot of my new clients, and lots of them were kind of oh my god, but I only have 5K at the moment. I'm not even considered to I don't even exist in this
I'm
realm.
not worthy of that.
Yeah, but to be honest, that's all bullshit, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, we probably both did when we first started. I mean, having the opportunity to even get jobs, that somebody even wanted to pay you for what you do.
Oh my god!
You took the jobs, the money didn't matter.
See me?
Yeah, exactly. But it was about solidifying your own brand as
Right.
well. That other brands thought that you were worthy of being paid regardless of the dollar sign. So I feel like it's not necessarily. A part of it is where you are in your business, and how much effort you want to actually build this into a business. So in the beginning, I don't know how choosy you could be. I think that there's a fair way to set up an ideal rate, and I think that it goes back to when we first started, there was this kind of overarching thing that we were taught that you should be paid $100 for every 1,000 followers that you had. So that's kind of like
that was
that
like
seemed
4
to
years
be
ago.
yeah.
That was like the standard.
That was the baseline. Yeah, and it's like we followed that. Like I did.
Okay, you want
especially.
something? Well, I have this many.
Yeah. Okay, that's the calculation for my worth, you know. And in the beginning, that was totally fine. Like when we were first starting, I felt like that I was like, I do have worth, you know. Like I could monetize this, and I was clearly coming from a place as you trying to build a business. So I think that it's different with intent. It's different with what's the word? Longevity and how long you've been doing it. I think, you know. So.
I mean, I think even with like jobs I get today, sometimes I think to myself like, despite like what others are being made, like being paid, or like what is like the baseline, like what is good to me?
Yeah.
What feels like a fair rate for what I'm doing, where
Time,
I'm
cost,
from,
energy.
yeah. And that's my rate.
Yeah.
What I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's about like, you know, at the end of the day, I guess, you know, like that applies not only to your kind of Instagram life, but also like, you know, if you're a freelancer, essentially you charge for effort and time. You know, because I could be spending that time on something else, on a bigger project or some other thing that could potentially cost me.
I always appreciated. I had somebody tell me one time that you're worth whatever your highest paid job was. You know, like, and we've had a couple that I'm like, well, holy crap! Like some of them are amazing. Some of them we've taken just because we've wanted to. I think that, you know, that the money thing, it goes so many different ways, because it goes back to level of organicness, how much you really want to work with the brand, how much you want to solidify your own brand, appear to others as if you take this seriously enough to be able to be paid to do what you do, and then it works all the way up to like things that maybe don't make sense, but there's a lot of money to be made, and you know, there's a lot of ways I think to go around it, and that is, I think, the caveat with this business, that there is no real way to streamline it.
I think though 4 years ago that standard
that
really was the standard, and then that all went out the window. And now there's no average.
Yeah, there's no average.
There's no average.
Because I mean, we talk, you know, about some of the clients that you have and some of like the budgets that you've gotten, or some of the emails you've gotten that people will send their rates for XYZ for a post, and it'll blow your mind. We're like, we are so far off. Like,
sometimes I'm like, is that what I should be charging?
Exactly.
Either that or on the reverse. Like, it's so.
That's
like
outrageous.
You want to post in exchange for a coffee? Like, sweetheart, like we need to sit down and be like, okay.
I know.
And that's fine. If this is your hobby, that's one thing. I shouldn't, you know, there's no docking that. But there's something to also be said about, like, if I'm going to, this is a business transaction.
Right.
There should be some sort of level of.
I think the hardest thing with pricing though is the comparison, because like Instagram in and of itself is already a comparison. Instagram, like we were talking about casually earlier, like, what's real, what's not about what you're sharing or where you are or how you're feeling. And if you see online that like it seems like somebody's saying they're making like tens of thousands of dollars, and you're like, I want tens of thousands of dollars, you might miss a job by overshooting.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you
I definitely have.
That's another big one, right? Like, you know, because like I have a girl, she's a model, right? And like she's in the spot, like, you know, when she opened her platform, and she earns quite a lot of money, like selling her like tutorials and courses and things like that. So she said, sorry, like, you know, I'm not gonna waste my time on things that are not being, you know, because I'm so busy right now. So like I cannot really
necessarily need it.
I cannot do an occasional gig. But that way she kind of lost like 50% of her kind of gig, like, you know, side jobs. Because like people were just kind of like, whatever, we're just gonna go to another model.
Right.
You know, and it's kind of like, here it goes again, you know, like, and I think when you're saying about like, you know, getting these emails with big budgets, there is something to be said when you get like a budget being sent directly from a brand, or it being cut and like, you know, and like and being resent through like an agency or someone else who already cuts like another 50% of that. So I think for a lot of bloggers who don't really want to do the hard work of contacting, you know, the agent straight away, you know, or maybe don't even have those connections. Or even signing up to this online kind of website.
There's so many of those websites.
Right? It's like $200 you're gonna do this, right?
so many of
irritating.
those.
There's so
It's
many.
ridiculous.
But that is the hard thing too, because it's like you don't necessarily want to overshoot and lose something, but if you're
You don't
valued
undercut
at,
yourself
you don't want to
either.
undercut yourself. If your rate isn't something a brand can handle, that's fine too. You
Yeah.
don't have to take every
Exactly.
job. I hate the ones that are like, oh, that's what you'll charge. I know somebody who's just like you,
So
who will
beyond
Yeah.
inappropriate.
who actually is asking for 75% less.
We've all been
And, like,
there.
They aren't like me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
but
is
that's
only me.
Exactly.
Well, and bless you for knowing that about yourself. I feel like there's plenty of other people that probably run into this situation
And
who
they're
get
like, okay,
slapped in
fine.
the face
Exactly. I feel
by
like
somebody
shit.
just being rude.
Exactly.
There's a way to speak to people, and this topic especially gets me heated because
We're always like,
we
"You
both
don't know what
had
they
people,
said to
but
me."
it's like you don't get to decide what I just said my worth was. There's
100%.
there's in this business, especially negotiation is it. This is the way we conduct business. Everything
Yeah.
is negotiation, and for somebody to come back and try to make you feel stupid for what you feel you're worth, totally unacceptable. And the
Yeah.
few brands that I've run into that with, I mean blacklisted.
Yeah.
Cannot believe that you would ever even try to make somebody feel bad about themselves.
You
know?
don't even reply, right?
I don't.
I always
don't
reply, I say,
I just am
I
like, yo,
just
my
say,
God, bite your tongue. It's not
"Thanks.
worth it.
good luck working with them. This is my rate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because it's
Absolutely.
like you unfortunately don't get to decide it. Unfortunately, I hate to like harp on that type of person because 9 times out of 10, or 9.5 times out of 10, you're not gonna run into those types of people or
8
brands.
out of 10.
Yeah.
8 out of 10. That's already a good
I
ratio.
can only count like 3 times that happened,
That's
which
actually pretty good.
which seems like a lot.
But again, we have to also like really important thing to notice, guys. You know, like we're talking obviously like we're sitting in LA and we're discussing American prices, but the reality is like what it costs in Europe and other countries much less. you
It's
know,
much
like,
less.
Oh, really?
Much
Way
less.
less.
Way
like,
less.
Like England, London. Like
Like
I remember
nothing.
nothing. Like,
Yeah.
Like because
No,
the
I'm telling
influencer,
you.
like the network out there is completely different.
Very different.
Like if I was London with 40,000 followers, I would be considered very, very, very high up. Like it is a completely different
Very
landscape.
different. Yeah.
It blew
That's
my
true.
mind. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like no, but it's insane.
It's pretty crazy. It's a totally different culture.
It's a very
Yeah.
different world, because I do have like a lot of people still like from Europe, like who are kind of like doing different kind of things like with international brands,
Yeah.
and it kind of baffles me every time they know they are international, they're
Yeah.
lowering the rate, and I'm like, wait a second, but like if they would be based like even if they would hang out in LA like 6 months out of year, you would be already paying them like the American amount, and
It's
everyone's
so
like.
fascinating. I had
You think
Everyone's
it's
like-
streamlined.
Yeah, everyone's like always like, oh, the American bloggers, Same with YouTube. Do you know that, like, for example, I have like a lot of people I work with from like Russian YouTube, and they have like millions of followers. One girl has like 16 millions on Russian YouTube. She gets paid 60% less than the American market.
It's-
And YouTubers in the US just make way more than Instagrammers, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my God,
exponentially.
unbelievable.
But you know what's funny?
Exponentially.
Even what they earn on YouTube on advertising, on
Yeah.
paid advertising
Yeah,
in
right,
the
right.
US is much more than what you would earn officially on YouTube in Europe and other countries. It's insane. Yeah, they kind of like, I think they kind of just like adapt that to the market and like the overall margin of what it is in the country, but it's kind of insane. So basically
I
like,
just learned something.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
so you're in a sweet spot in a sense of,
No, it really is true.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I think
But there
that-
are really even though I think there's not another me, there are a lot of versions of everybody.
in the
That's the hard
US,
thing.
it's insane.
Yeah, it's
like
completely
I think
saturated.
the
It's tough.
market is insane.
And it can really
Yeah.
it can mess with you. I mean, and I would imagine, it does. It messes with, your value,
Self-worth.
your perceived value, self-worth, and
Self-worth.
dollar signs, so it's tough.
Self-worth and dollar signs.
Yeah,
Can
I
we have
think
like a
they're
printer?
tied.
Yes. I think that what needs to be said though is that you need to figure out, especially if you're just starting, all right, where is your potential? So, because there's 900 different ways to make money in this industry. Whether that be YouTube, what's that Incubus?
I know. I was like, where are you going with this?
YouTube, Instagram, your blog. There's 900 different avenues. So it's like if you're focused on blogging, we know tons of people that make money off of advertising from their blog.
Yeah.
So there's like paid ads, as in like banners, side things. There's a couple of sponsored content. That, I mean, like mommy bloggers and recipe bloggers, that's how they make all of their money.
Pinterest?
Really?
Yeah, Pinterest.
No way.
So yeah, if that's your focus, you should be looking into agencies that can help you do that. So, but if
it depends on who you are.
it depends on your content. I mean, so let's say you're big into fashion, you should be focusing your efforts on maybe reward style and making money through that. I have a friend who specifically only posts outfits to reward style, not even Instagram.
Oh wow.
Gets paid over $4,000 or $5,000 a month just in reward style.
And there's also the Amazon affiliates.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a huge one.
So if you're a seller, if you're able to sell clothes, that should be your avenue. Focus on that. Focus on Pinterest, and then of course there's content creators. You know, obviously the more obvious types of people to us, you know, Instagram and, you know, paid collaborations with brands that help solidify your own brand. And then vice versa, there's always the YouTube, you know, sponsored posts and, you know, what do they have? Ads as well.
Ads as well, yeah.
So there's, I think, a lot of different ways to look at it and to things to explore. It's just, I think that you've got to get real with where you put most of your effort and then capitalize on that and who you are, of course, you know, like, and especially if you're trying to align yourself with brands, that's
I'm sure you could pick up a lot of hundos on random brands, but
I mean,
you could
really
destroy yourself.
at the very beginning, maybe it's worth signing up for some of these third-party
I can't believe how many there are.
And that's the unfortunate thing, is that it's hard to figure out which ones are worth it or not.
Right.
But you know, at the end of the day, that's up to you.
That's also a lot of effort too, though.
It is a huge amount of effort
create
to
a
apply.
profile.
But that's what I mean, you know, like,
Yeah.
and when they kind of like, you know, I signed up to one of those things, you know, like out of curiosity, you know, I've signed up and like they just quickly just calculate, you know, like your price, just like based on kind of like they have like an algorithm.
Right.
Did you sign up for 4? Was it 4?
Oh no.
I like 4. I enjoy that one. It feels a little like
a bit more upscale.
Upscale, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few of
There-
them out
there's
there.
a lot.
They
Like-
cut so much of the money, I think.
Yeah, they do.
That
Because they
was-
spread out.
Yeah, that's what worries me though. I mean, like, that's an easy way to find the jobs, but there was one campaign, it was 2 years ago, where the company reached out to me directly. I had already locked the deal. Then a third party reached out to me about the same campaign, not knowing.
Wow.
So I kept going with them just to see what they would have paid me, and it was a third of what I would have made.
Oh my
One
god, but that's
third.
insane. You see what
Yeah,
I mean?
but-
Like whose pocket is falling into, you
Some
know?
people don't have those contacts though, especially in the
Exactly,
beginning.
exactly.
Like you've gotta like
You gotta reach out.
either reach out and or take a couple of the
take it.
jobs. Like
Yeah,
see
yeah.
how it goes.
Take them to start,
Yeah.
but then start
Absolutely.
understanding the market.
1,000%, and building your relationships, no matter like what that looks like, PR with the brand itself. You know, start connecting yourself and putting all that out there. But I mean, I don't think there's any shame in like exploring those types of third parties, especially in the beginning, and especially if you know that that's like a goal of yours. If the goal of yours is to make money and to
there's so
align
many
yourself
options.
with certain brands, there's so many options, so many brands, huge brands too.
Like
Like,
really
tons
big
of
guys
brands.
are on there.
Yeah, it's
Silly
true.
stuff too.
Really
Like I mean,
big
like,
guys.
But the reality, like the other day, I was just like, you know, discussing it with my mates, you know, like kind of like how do you even find new places, or like how do you find out about things, you know, like when I used to live in London, you know, like time out was like the thing.
oh
you know,
yeah,
like,
still is.
So it's just kind of like time out it out. But
Yeah.
the reality is like, you know, 90% of places that I go or like buy, it is from people I'm subscribed to, you know?
Yeah.
And as I told you, like, you know, Caroline's like definitely, she's like, I'm like choking. I'm like gag it. Hashtag got. But it's true because every time I see like her posting some kind of foods, you know, like, and to be honest, now that I'm subscribed to Nastassia as well, you know, that's exactly what's happening. I'm like, what are they doing to me? Like, seriously, all these foods, and you know, like, I'm constantly like sending it to my friends. I'm like, oh my god, we have to go there.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what is this? But the reality is like, you know, it's the best way
Yeah.
to be affected, you know, because if your friend or someone you know and admire kind of goes to that place, and then, you know, it's live, you know, like, because every time I read this kind of timeout reviews or whatever, it's like, it's kind of pointless, right? Because a lot of times you already kind of think, okay, they got paid to do this article,
Right.
you know, things like that. So you kind of like with bloggers, obviously, that's another question.
Oh man, that's a
really,
line.
this is really interesting. So for example, if you discover something like, you know, especially with you guys, I think that's interesting because you cover a lot of food.
Yeah.
What is the kind of layout for you? Would you go somewhere like for free and then just like out of curiosity and then build that relationship by starting posting content and getting into it? Or do you strictly kind of like, I'm not even stepping in unless, you know, so how does it work like in your kind of niche? You know, I think that's really interesting for people.
I think we just like to explore and discover.
Mm-hmm.
And we
That's
definitely have been invited into many places.
Yeah.
And if we like it, we post.
Yeah.
If we don't,
Or if it's like, if it is aligned with what each of our goals are, you know, like I tend to focus solely on what's new and what's like somewhat trending, not somewhat, totally trending, and then you are focused on
Totally trending, another hashtag. Just like totally trending.
just totally trending right now. And Nastassia over here focuses a little bit more obviously on the sweets and dessert side. So if
Jesus
it tends
Christ.
to, I mean, so honestly, like neither of us really go out of our way to like, especially when it comes to restaurants and food. This is a tricky area because like if you don't know many specific food outside of you, restaurants, I should say, like restaurant-driven food bloggers that make a ton of money off of that. I feel like that is more for them. It's definitely a hobby. It's not impossible. Like we have friends who
that
who
is
are,
true.
but it's true. Like
I
it's
do have
an
a lot of
interesting
like restaurant-focused friends who don't.
Yeah, that's where I feel like that's definitely a hobby, but it's not to say that like I mean
Choose your category wisely.
well, hey, if your thing is to get free food, like
That's a really nice
Yeah.
perk too.
you
It's
yeah,
a good
no, but
trade.
it's a
have some
beautiful-
potential to do that, but should
That's a
you
good perk, yeah.
enter into it with that intention? Hell to the
No.
fuck no.
Exactly.
Like you be
No.
careful. Like you gotta go into this because you're stoked, you love food,
Right.
you're willing to
Free
pay for
food
it.
gets old
Yeah.
real fast.
Honestly, it really does. Like it's like I turn down
So
these
cool.
days. I mean, I think we turn down like I'd say 80-90%. I go
No way.
Yeah, I go
Sometimes
into
I'm
training.
like, I get a release and I'm like, sounds interesting, thanks for the info.
Yeah.
Like, what is this real exchange? Like, could I just check this out myself and not have
Yeah.
to like be hounded?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna check it out myself.
I always honestly these days that's all I do. Like I would
I
rather
don't have
just
to
be
be
a paying
bothered. I can
customer.
do it at my own pace.
Yeah, and suss it out for myself. If it's something
But like, it took
every
us a while
now
to
and-
get there.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh my god, yes. And
Yeah.
it did take a lot of the relationship building. It was never like me being like trying to be transactional. It was me always just hoping that would come with the territory and time, and it did. And I always went into places and posted like as if like I was just a fan. And you build on top of that because you're coming from the right place with the right attitude. You're
And
not.
you say yes to things you like.
Yes.
Hopefully, that's
Yeah.
the intention.
Yeah, and you build on your
Exactly.
brand,
You
you
say
build on it,
yes
you build on it,
to
and the
what
goal
you
is eventually make the relationship with these restaurants, chefs, PR people that can help you. Eventually, that would want to, you know.
Invite you in.
That's exactly where you want to be. You know, just to go and discuss some extreme serious celebs that are like
Ooh.
banking out cash. So I was really interested in this, you know, because obviously we started with micro influencers and where they're kind of based around, you know, and in a sense, you know, like now discussing it, like, you know, I think we kind of cleared it up with the girls, you know, that it's, I think the most diverse group is the micro influencers.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and then we have celebrity influencers. That's really interesting, you know, and their piece of content goes from anywhere from 3K to $500,000 and even $1 million.
Yeah.
They say that Selena Gomez is making 600K per post.
Amazing.
That's-
That's right. She
that-
has the most followers on Instagram.
Yeah, it's true.
Her
Yeah,
audience
why
is
is that? I always
one.
wonder.
Yeah, I know. Maybe her margin, her group, maybe she's just too likable.
She is. I think she's just like
She's very likable.
Fast.
very easy to like.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing that stat and thinking like, but why
I know, I
you?
I was shocked more than Kardashians. Like
Yeah.
everyone's like obsessed with Kardashians,
Right.
but she's like way up.
They can be polarizing though.
Yeah.
She's very minimally polarizing.
That's
Wow.
the truth.
And I think that
that's
she's very
what it is.
relatable. That, and I mean, like, she's of the generation. You know, I don't know that she's not a
She-
millennial, is she?
No, I think
No,
she's
she's
younger.
younger,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. She's
Um,
Gen Z. Yeah.
Yeah, and
she
they,
is, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like,
kinda
that's
crazy.
where all of those kids are. Those youngins.
Right?
But
So-
Aging us.
they're all
Sorry,
aging us.
Jake.
they're you know Team Selena Gomez, which is
but it's also interesting that like social media influencer of a high standard kind of gets absolutely the same. They're saying that you can go up to half a mil to like a lot of
for just regular
one post
for Instagram for Instagram influencers. Oh yeah,
just one post.
So can
you imagine like how
there are some girls make like
it's a house in LA.
Kiara Ferragni, I charged that much.
That's insane.
Not that I know that for an absolute fact, but I read it. And I
but
believe
guys,
it.
for a single post,
yeah.
and there's many that you can do, right?
So then some of these top tiers or celebrities are multimillionaires. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And
Goals.
that's kind of that's kind of crazy. Like some interesting stats though that they're saying that micro influencers have 22 times more weekly conversations with their crowd than any other kind of average influencers, which is kind of really interesting. So even though these big celebs can bank so much cash for a single post, the reality is what's going to be the outcome of this, and for many marketing consultants and brands these days, they definitely know that someone who knows their audience and they have like a smaller following actually gets much more out of this. The brand's gonna get much more out of this campaign at the end of the day, because it's about
Yeah, we talked about this last time. It's having a following or the influence versus having an audience.
Right.
So it's not actually about that, but here it goes. So I wanted to discuss it with you. Because like recently. I've posted like a few posts in a swimsuit and it was like viral success. Basically, people loved it because basically I opened up about being really having a tough time, like growing up in this body, like this body's seen a lot of change. I've always been struggling with weight, like a lot, and it was like really kind of like up and down. And since then, I had the weirdest thing happening. It's just like underwear and swimsuit brands contacting me in DMs and like, we loved your post. We think you should be kind of like, we want to collab. And I'm like, baffled. And you know what's the funniest thing is kind of like, I'm kind of like embedded in this industry and I work in it, but when it comes to me, I just kind of go and like, like in kind of shock, and and I don't feel 100% sure about how much should I charge and like what I should do with this, and I even started to feel bad about charging, and I'm like, wait a second, that's exactly the opposite of what I'm projecting to my clients and people that I work with, and I'm actually empowering them, and I always say, it doesn't matter.
You feel bad?
This is really weird. So, this is like a small kind of like influencer social media following session. Like kind of psychiatric kind of like support for me guys, because I was just like, I don't know. As soon as you kind of start charging money for this, you kind of feel like there's other pressure, right? And like the pressure adds, the more money it is.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of like all of a sudden, it's not just
it's more.
It's more to it, right? And you kind of like feel pressurized.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like feel like, oh, I don't know. And then you go in this whole self-worth thing, right? It's
the spiral.
And you're kind of like, am I good enough to charge money for this, right? Like,
why do they want me?
Well, yeah. What is the and this is really, really hard. Also, like, what do you think about brands that kind of approach you and kind of start proposing you, like, for example, would you want to have a post and we can give you that amount, but we can give you that amount like in clothing, in like services, the trade. What do you think about that?
Depends on what you need.
Yeah, that depends on if you think that it's going to benefit you enough. Like it's got to benefit you somehow. So whether that means that you're going to be able to create a bunch of content out of these pieces of clothing, if that's not what you feel like is going to be worth the trade, then it has to be monetary. Or you just really want to do it, so you do it.
Exactly.
It's like you've got to weigh out, what your intention is with it. And I've taken plenty of things and pieces of clothing from brands that I completely adore, wouldn't even dream of asking for a dime, no matter the cost of the product. It's just because I want to be aligned with that brand. Two, I would, we do need things to help us create content sometimes. It's nice to be inspired by, brands, and if somebody's willing to like help you, even with something as simple as that, great. And if it's not worth it, I mean, there's no, if there's something else that you're wanting to get out of it, then if that's the truth for you, then that's okay too. And there's no, I mean, I am of the belief that there's no harm in asking. If there is something in
For the
you,
brand.
yeah,
Yeah, of course.
there's something that you're like, you know what, I think that this would be the most beneficial for me if there were a rate involved, because of the time that it's going to take me to do this. You have a specific vision that I think is going to require, you know, if there's like a time limit, or, you know, if there's a specific vision, you know, there could be factors that would make you think, you know, shoot, this might not be totally worth it just from a, you know, trade perspective.
Yeah.
And that's okay too, you
Or
know?
because they're asking pretty much just to advertise on your page.
Exactly.
Some
that's-
are just straight advertising.
Yeah, yeah, and that's,
And
you
that
know,
costs.
yeah, and we've all run into, you know, the problems of taking jobs because we thought that they seemed like really good ideas at the time, and then it turns out
and then it turns out, and it's all disaster.
Wow, whoopsie, like
You know, because like there is some kind of like, there's level to collaborations, you know, there's like amazing brands that you just love to support, you know, like in general, I started, like, you know, some people that write to me, and I know, like, you know, they're probably a really small brand, they don't really have the money kind of to spread around, and you just really want to support it.
Exactly.
You know, so in that sense, you know, like, what I normally do, I just kind of say, like, send it for me to test out.
Yeah.
If I really do kind of stand by it, like, you know, definitely, like, I normally actually do, I think, like, you know, there's a level of support that you have to show on your page,
sure.
you know?
Absolutely.
And it irritates me, you know, like, whenever, like, bloggers, like...
You have to show you actually like real things,
it's
you
like,
know?
come
Like,
on,
you
like,
can't be
you
just
know,
one giant walking advertisement.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
you
what
have
I
to be
mean.
careful.
Because there is a lot of, like, people that actually unsubscribe from, you know, because, like, I could
Oh,
just,
it's so irritating. Some
I
like
could
every
just, like,
other.
oh my
yeah,
God.
you can't like every version of the same thing.
That too.
Exactly.
That's also
That
really
really
irritating.
bugs.
I know,
Oh,
right?
For crying out loud.
50
I
different
want, like,
multivitamins,
loyalty
you know,
towards
things like
certain
that. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
I know some like, you know, some kind of like organic vegan friendly people, you know, like who start like, you know, to post 50 different types of like oil, oh no, let's subscribe to this product,
Totally.
to that. It's like, come on, like how many times you're never even gonna have the time to test it all out. Like I'm pretty
You gotta
sure
be
you've never
careful,
tested it.
for sure.
You know,
But
so
you also have to believe in something, you know, like, and that's
things like that.
That's important to, like, I think, keep a healthy mix of the two, you know. And I feel like sponsored content like ebbs and flows, and you have to be conscious of like making sure that you're still, like, obviously you're taking these jobs hopefully from a place of because you believe in the brand. Like, I should hope you never take a job that you aren't at least 90% about. I'm not gonna say 100% because there have been times I'm like, oh, like
Mildly questionable.
ish, you know, like, can I make it work? Like, yeah, fuck yeah, I like cookies. You know what I mean? Like, is it silly that I took a job with a cookie brand? Yeah, I get it. No offense.
I'm like,
Rude.
what are you talking about?
That's
my God.
Nastassia's thing, okay?
I love
That's
it.
my point,
Hey,
you
but
know?
I am never gonna show you a shit croissant, okay?
No.
I
Your croissants
care
are
about
like
the quality of a croissant,
Yeah,
and I won't
others
show you
more.
trash.
Yeah.
Like,
Trust me.
She was like snapping this like what was this, like this matcha filled thing that I was like it had like a sound to it, like a crunch.
Oh right,
I was
yeah.
just like, what the hell is this thing? Like, I just want to
It
snap
was
it.
just ear porn. I was like,
It was just absolute
Oh, yeah.
like
What,
ASMR kind of thing, you know? It was just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh my God, what? Like I kind of like replayed it and replayed it. Then I was like, okay,
I almost wanted to write no, but seriously, sound on, people. Not like sound on, but like
God.
sound on.
But God forbid you even put a hashtag sponsored anywhere near that post, it would have gone to absolute crap. But,
Really?
oh my God, yeah. I mean, like, that I don't not understand it. I just, it is a bummer in our industry.
I'm a little
That,
upset about.
yeah, because
sponsored
like there are people that abuse it. I feel like that, like, they're hard to believe. So,
Well, there are people that use it and they're not sponsored.
well, also that. That's a whole thing.
Why?
Wait a second, they do that? Yeah, of course. Yeah, kind
Yeah.
of to show off like what kind
look
of
what
stuff.
I got.
Oh my
Yeah,
God!
it's
Like,
a
this
whole
is like, but you know what I mean? Like, it
But-
has to be like it's one of this like fake it until you make it. You know?
Totally.
I saw
That's
some.
exactly
I
what
saw,
it is.
I saw some like shit account and it was like literally laughing out loud because it was hysterical. It was like this guy he had like 100 followers and he was just kind of. I almost felt like it's a kind of niche market in itself. To kind of pretend that you're this big influencer. I was like, this is hysterical. This is actually comedy central.
I would
And
love
it's like,
if it were.
it was ridiculous. He was like
Rag
making
on
this pictures, like remakes of. I'm not sure he did it intentionally. He was probably not aware of the whole act, but it was brilliant. I loved it. You know, he was like posing and like and being like hashtag like Skechers. You know? And I was just like, and it's like sponsored ad, and I'm like, meh.
No.
You're like,
like-
no, it's not.
No, but in a sense, I was like, this is brilliant. I love
It's
this,
kind of
you know?
brilliant.
It's just like this is
It's
comedy,
pretty
you know.
funny, yeah.
And to be honest, I actually have this thing, like, you know, I created like a second account and I'm just gonna like load it up with comedy because I realized
Oh yeah,
my
I
account
had
is
one
too
called the
serious.
Anti-Blogger, and it was just
I
like it was especially in like the early days when it was like beautiful tablescapes and like the coffee
love
just
this.
had to be just right.
Yeah.
Or when there's like salt on the table.
Yeah, no, it
everywhere.
was like I would take pictures and post it like it was this beautiful scene, and it was just like a completely fucked up table with like crumbs everywhere, like it was
afterwards.
disgusting. Yeah, the
after-
aftermath, and
the
it'd be like
aftermath.
lunch, you know, like stupid.
But you know what I think is interesting, that like a lot of brands these days, you know, like they just kind of down with you kind of like do it your way, you know,
Yeah.
like and I like, you know, whenever you guys like, you know, because on your page it's not even like that kind of, you know, I don't really feel like I'm like,
You can obviously
Yeah.
pick out the ones that are
I don't
necessarily
really-
sponsored.
yeah, exactly, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't think you should.
No, I don't think you should either.
And-
It's hard with product though. I do feel for the girls
Yeah.
that like
Yeah,
do
yeah.
product stuff, and
It's like-
the brand is like has to have the bottle, you
I
know,
know.
really clear, and you know, it's
I-
like that's
horrible.
Dude, that's
It's
hard.
like-
I feel for
but they're
that.
also
That's an
like,
ad.
you
That's
know,
an ad.
And you're not gonna. It's like why not just take out an actual ad buy versus if you're partnering with a person, like let them be
That's
the
so
person.
true. Yeah, that's very true.
Because it's the person that's selling it, right? It's weird. Like I understand like the constraints of like if it is a product, it really should show the
Brand
label.
awareness.
You have to be able to see it, but like I would leave it
Get out in
there.
the store, and yeah, it's tough. It's that's what I feel like carousels are for. But that's
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh, you want your product?
Here's your hero. Hero 4 down.
I love this, like, no, but
Two. Come on, you gotta be
But
nice.
it's true, you know, like it's actually quite nice, you know, you can hide a lot in the carousel,
Yeah.
you know, or like a video. Video is much easier, you know, because you can have snippets of it, but then have like the whole mood and like the
Yeah.
cool look.
It's a fine line.
You do want it to
Fine line.
feel like you still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the brands want it to be about them too, but you know, it's meeting in the middle is not something that's always easy to do,
I
especially
think
with
brands
jobs like
just
that.
have like rigid confines, especially the bigger they are.
Yeah, and some
And
of
like
them.
it's just like cookie cutter and they don't think through and they're like, nope, this is
Well, yeah, like
I
you
was
said,
having-
we're coming out of the age of traditional ads. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like this is it's hard to know what 100% what works and what doesn't. I mean, we know what resonates with our followers. Like I had a job, for example, with cognac. Okay, so I did not
I
have
thought
to.
you said Kanye. I was like,
I, I did get an email today from
my
Kim
God.
Kardashian's people for
Are you
Skims.
serious? No! Oh my god, that's amazing!
I was like, this is really ironic timing too, because I really want that shapewear with like
Underwear.
the one leg for like high slips. Anyway, so not Kanye, but
That's actually quite cool, man. Like, you know, the
Oh,
fact
for
that
sure.
like, you know, the fact that like they go and they really venture out. Because to be honest, you know, like I think if you kind of go about, we're saying that it's oversaturated or whatever, but to be honest, like I don't really follow that many like LA bloggers.
Yeah.
Like most of them are so shit.
Yeah.
You know, so like I'm like, oh my god, I cannot like stand all
Yeah.
this like very kind of samey pages,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going
There's
on
a
this
lot of the same.
A lot of the same.
man, like, you know, all this like one color profile for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
you know,
oh my
it's
God.
just like it's so
that's
kind of like
tough.
crazy.
That's so confining.
I hate it, like
Right?
this crazy.
Yeah.
No, there's some like I recently discovered this girl. Her name's Marisa. I've never followed her before, and she has this crazy weird color profile. But I'm really into that, you know, like, and she's super creative. Like she takes it to the next level with like the photography and all of that. Also, people don't understand it takes a lot of time, you know. Like for example, I was taking like a friend of mine, like the picture that I posted today,
I
basically.
love that.
How many? You don't understand. It was crazy. So this guy took pictures of me, yeah. And let's see, let's check it out. You know. So basically, like,
I'm gonna go rip it off today.
yeah. I love this. Like, you know, like actually, yeah. It's about authenticity. You know, like because like, oh my god, I have this issue with a. Yeah, you know.
Wow, that's good. That's really good.
But you know what's the funniest thing about this whole thing here? So he took these pictures, and he's a professional photographer, amazing guy.
Great light.
And then it took me about like maybe like 5 days to completely like, you know, redo the light, like, you know, like I retouched it completely to my style. And that's another thing, you know, like it takes me forever to like to somebody takes the picture, and then I know for sure I'm still, no matter how they're gonna kind of retouch it and like the light they're gonna put, like I'm just still gonna redo it my style. And like he sent it to me and I was like, no, it looks good, yeah. And then I was just like, okay. And then I start, and actually it takes me more to work on the picture that was taken, you know, like with someone else's like kind of vision and think it's even easier for me these days to even kind of put it on the tripod and just like snap it away.
Oh yeah, that's why we have to hire our friends who just get it and they're of the same segment. Like, I'm not trying to edit your photos. You're not trying to edit my photos.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
God bless having friends that you know. Like,
Yeah.
Just take that and leave it. Give us your card.
Yeah, you know, because like some photographers are really particular about it, and
They
you're
are.
like, you're a great photographer, but it's not like fitting like, you know, my vibe or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is like what I know. It's all kind of like this.
They're hard to find. I have one that I
It's difficult.
adore, and it's like even then some of our I'm like, oh, little left contact. Oh my god,
But-
it's stupid shit, you know.
Yeah, but
it's,
you have to be
they're
just
hard.
like friends with people who take pictures.
You do,
Basically,
yeah.
it's like, you know, that
And
like
we're willing to not like forsake, you know.
exactly.
Take direction.
It's difficult.
Get over your weird artistic.
I'm so thankful I
vision.
only put my face
Focus on mine.
6. Thank God.
It's easier for you. It's
Yeah.
like you don't have to
One
put
every
your
6.
face.
Yeah.
You don't have to put your face everywhere. Like, you know, I'm kind of like almost like I'm like, is it too much for my face? Like, you know, I have to when I like build up my feed. I'm kind of like, okay, too many like, you know, like of like kind of like I mid-size need to like,
Yeah.
to throw different pose like all
I
of
mean,
that.
the thought process that goes into
It's people don't really see that, like, you know, it takes forever. Like, I know what I'm gonna post like for weeks ahead, you know, because I have all this like
Me too.
pictures lined up, you know, like I like literally have it all lined up.
I'm like that day. Mine has to be
Really?
Mine has to be in the moment.
see,
though,
like, you're
because
good.
my
You're
stories
good.
always
Yeah, yeah.
correlate exactly to what I'm doing in
You're
my
good
feed.
like that.
Well, because it's like I gotta do what's happening right this second. And
Yeah,
half
it's
the
true,
time-
but you're kind of
and they
more
gotta go
lifestyle.
together.
You see?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you have to
Exactly.
like you're like in the trip. You're totally
Which is
trending.
even trickier because I'm OCD AF about the feed, so
Yeah.
it's like having to like limit
Yeah.
myself to like one instance and just pray to God it works out, and or just like deal with the fact that I'm
But you
gonna
have
hate
to be on the
staring at it.
spot.
Yeah, I'm on the spot though.
You have to be on the
Yeah.
spot because you're always like, you know, in this next new place, you know, in this like brand or whatever.
Should I
Oh
go
no,
back to
that's
that
right.
cognac story? Because I was gonna.
Oh no, sorry.
No, because I thought that
We
it
need
would
to get back to the cognac
I
story.
don't know. 'Cause I don't know. You tell me, because it was just like I appreciated working with them because they understood that the message could still be, you know, put out there and taken without their bottle being in the photo. Like it was, and it is to this day like one of my most engaged with posts. I mean, granted, I did a couple things to like make sure that we did a giveaway together, and I wanted to come up with a creative way to do that because I don't feel like traditional giveaways really do much these days. I feel like people think they're being tricked into something.
Yeah,
Which I
like,
get.
Am I gonna win?
Yeah, like really,
Also,
like
have
you're
you
just
heard-
doing this to like get more followers or likes or something. It's like really like not me, because it doesn't do anything.
Oh,
Like
no.
I'm doing it because I want to, because like either the brand, it's important to the brand, and or me. So I've tried to come up with ways, especially this year, to make that more interesting and make it still something that could provide some value and or help boost a post. And so, but I really appreciated working with like a brand like, you know, cognac. It was like the cognac was clearly in the cocktail, you know what I mean? But it still felt like me. I still was able to go somewhere that I thought that would still relate to the audience, you know, that clearly is LA based. We went to Broken Shaker. It was fun, and it went over really well because I didn't have to be clearly like.
Yeah, exactly. No, don't you feel like it turns your way?
It's tough, and it does. It turns people. It's not. It all comes around. It's not obvious to other people too.
Yeah, come on, like
If it's
seriously.
a little painful for you, it's a little painful for your audience. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to suck it up sometimes and just
Of
do
course.
it. So
Yeah. But you know, it's a weird world that, you know, we're talking about how can you make money on Instagram,
Yeah.
but then we're also talking about like how your audience is like, oh, you're making money.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's almost shameful.
Exactly. That's the
which
that's
is
the biggest thing.
It's a
So
really
you
weird
want it, but you
dichotomy.
don't want me to have it, but you want me to have it, but you don't want me to have it, but you. I'm confused.
Yeah, and it's
What are we
like
supposed
yeah,
to
it's
do?
a vicious circle.
It's difficult. It's difficult. That's why I said, like, you know, where I was like in shock of my own reaction of being like, oh, so do you want to do this like collab, like blah blah blah, and I'm like, why I feel ashamed, like, you know, like, well, I mean, what is going on? Like, I work with influencers, like, you know, I'm in this business, and all of a sudden, when it comes to me and my personal content, I'm like, I don't know, like, you know, I feel sad, like, I don't know, I feel like, you know, overjudged, or, you know, I feel like this is like,
not who you are.
yeah, it's not gonna be who I am just because like I normally like I only have like 2 paid posts like in my no maybe like 3 paid posts in my
Right.
entire life, you know.
But you never thought of yourself as somebody that would.
No,
be,
I never even like I that even haven't crossed my mind, you
Yeah.
know. And actually, a friend of mine who is like a big influencer, he said like, do you know, Diana, like, you know, like you could have like a really thriving like page that would make you a lot of money, but it's just the problem and the question is your mentality about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually every time he says that to me, I'm like, man, like,
Absolutely.
you're blocking your own success in a sense, you know?
If that's what you want, though.
Yeah, if that's what you want, but like in the reality is like,
if this is you just being you and wanting to only do you, I mean, you could very well jeopardize that by taking paid stuff.
It changes the
It changes the dynamic. Unfortunately, it does. Like, yes, Love and Loving LA, I would like to say is 100% me, but to a degree, like, because it is still a brand, it is still a business. You have to treat it like one. So it can't be everything that you are as a person, because it just isn't. It's still a business. It's still an extension of you.
And it's work.
Yeah, and it's hard.
It's fun, but it's sometimes work's not fun.
It's hard to. I don't know.
It's different, you know, like, and it's different because when people have digital businesses these days, you know, like it might not feel like business because you're not going like, you know, in an attire to like 9 to 5, but you're still constantly working on it. Like it is work.
Yeah.
Because like instead of like hanging out with my mates, I go home and I'm like, oh, I need to go back home, you know, because I need to edit this picture that I'm gonna post, and like, what the hell, that is job, you know?
Right.
Like, so at the end of the day, you know, if you choose to kind of like edit your pics and like write your post instead, like I woke up this morning and I was just kind of like, and I'm like really struggling to put it into words. Like also I have this thing with split audience because like half of my audience, like now it's like 60 to 40, it's like 60 American, US and 40 Russian still, you know, because I used to kind of live in Europe and I have a lot of that kind of influence as well. And this is difficult for me, you know, because I write a post and I need to like double it up in a different language, and then I was like, I don't have enough symbols, you know, and I don't have enough symbols, and you don't want to lose both audiences, right? Because like it's kind of unfair. And then I'm slowly going in the American direction a bit more, and now I invented this thing when I kind of like put the translation at the very end, you know, and I realized that's more it's easier for people, you know, because I used to put it on commands, it gets lost, like it's difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
you know? It's difficult.
It's kind of like training your audience for what you want, though. Like, I mean, in the beginning when I first started, I was really food-centric, and then I wanted to dabble a little bit more in fashion, and felt like, in a way, I kind of had to, like, not retrain my audience, but I had to just decide what I wanted. Yeah, well, I had to refocus on who I wanted to speak with, and who I wanted to, like, you know, who I wanted to connect with, and if fashion was going to be a part of it, and that meant I was going to lose followers because of it, I was like, well, that's whatever. I don't really care. I'm not here to, like, you know, I'm here to, you know.
It's difficult, you know, like that's what I'm saying.
Live, people.
Yeah, it's well, like whatever.
But also, if you're taking care and building an audience, you want to pay attention to them too, and it's
difficult, you know, like because like that's the thing, you know, like with me, you know, like the way I kind of position it, you know, like I kind of do it for fun, but on the other side, you know, like it is complementing my career, you know, in many ways, you know, because like it is a part of what I'm doing. I'm kind of promoting my services, and like the fact that I kind of understand what I'm doing, you know, like that I'm embedded in the market, that I can make something grow.
And you have a following.
And I have a thought, which is kind of crazy to me because it's like a byproduct of my job. Like I've never actually tried to do anything.
So that puts you in an interesting place.
It's interesting, you know, because I'm kind of like in this like weird spot when I'm kind of like, am I like, and I did have like a period when there was a kind of dive, you know, like, and I was just kind of like, oh my god, it's all diving, like it's like Instagram, like whatever. And you know, like a lot of people actually these days get banned for like really weird shit, like giveaways. A lot of people get banned.
Oh yeah, because
I've been knocked off because it's like you've performed this action too many times. I'm like, I just logged on though. I haven't been on. Yeah. What are you talking about?
I know. I had exactly the same.
And then I'm banned for 24 hours. I'm like,
it's a very fickle.
What are you doing?
Fickle platform that you. As we said last time, you can't rely too heavily on.
No, they're getting a big break.
You Instagram.
I know. You know what? Like, I think the last thing that we can wrap up with, and I think would be a really, really cool thing, you know, because a lot of people, obviously, you know, coming off the back of, you know, discussing prices and like collabing, I think we can kind of give an insight into how do you approach actually, you know, people you want to work with, you know, like do you kind of DM them, you know, like do you find their like kind of marketing email? How do you even get those contacts, you know, because we've all been talking about the fact that the most important is to get those contacts, right? Like how the hell you kind of start getting those contacts, you know? Unless they approach you directly. When they approach you directly, okay, job done.
Yeah, that's great.
I think it's mostly, I mean, we don't really do a lot of cold outreach, right? I mean, they approach us, but I would say you get seen by being part of the community you want to integrate yourself in, by going to events, by being out and about, location tagging, like just making yourself visible.
Yeah, and
you get found.
Be professional though too. Like treat this like a business. If you really want to work with a specific brand, don't DM them on Instagram. Be a person. Send them a professional email.
Exactly.
Say, I have like a formula. It's I haven't used it in a little while, but I believe that it would still hold up. I mean, it's professionally introducing yourself, explaining what your attachment to the brand is, why you believe in the brand, why the brand aligns specifically with you, and I don't feel like you have to name off like 100 reasons why you're the perfect person for it. Honestly, just explain to them what the brand means to you. They'll decide whether or not that it's a right fit or not.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to hear back, but that doesn't mean that it stops there. You should give up. There's nothing wrong with reaching out and asking to be introduced in some way. I think that it's inappropriate to immediately ask for monetization within a partnership. I think that the goal is to just reach out and try to align yourself with the brand. The money hopefully follows, but it's way more important to establish yourself as somebody that's trustworthy, business-minded, has a good head on their shoulders, but also is just genuinely interested in the brand. So I think take it like any other business, from any other business standpoint.
Yeah.
A professional email, I think, would be the most appropriate way to introduce yourself. I've done it actually with a couple of PR companies that I've like really wanted to work with a couple of their brands. Some don't respond, and that's fine. I mean, that's as to be expected. Doesn't mean that you give up. At least, you tried, and it's not to say that they're not like, storing this information for future things. And
I think it's finding the right contacts though. Because also like
do your due diligence. Like go on the website, find the proper contact.
Right.
Like email a couple.
Yeah.
Like asking a friend. Like we definitely collect and exchange contacts, and it's like, would you mind introducing me to that person?
And if you don't feel comfortable, just give me the contact and I'll fill that.
Exactly.
Warm is easier, but
it depends, because there's some people that are really uncomfortable with that. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with asking. But make sure that somebody that you actually know. Because I've had people reach out to me, like I had a girl reach out to me for a contact, and I'm like, I don't know you, and that's really really
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can't vet you, so don't put me in a weird place. So there's a couple of different avenues, but
I think the DMing is challenging too, because who are you actually getting?
Right.
That's another
Are you
question.
getting the intern that's running the page?
I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people DMing our page, and a lot of people DMing me, and a lot of times it gets lost.
Tons of
It gets lost.
and it
gets lost in that like little envelope of like, I'm not following you, so I don't see you.
Exactly.
Am I gonna open it? I don't know.
That's
honestly,
do I even remember to open it?
Half of them I
Exactly.
don't. I mean, I'm like,
Exactly.
unfortunately, like this isn't the most like professional way to.
And whenever it's actually to your email, because the reality is, like, most of us have their emails connected because of our business page.
What's your email?
Email is very easy to find.
Yeah, come on, like,
a lot of very visible.
But for a lot of people, but to be honest,
problems,
in our world, that means filtering out the people who are not like, proficient enough in order to even like, click the button and send that damn email. Because a lot of people don't even go there, and I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like seriously, like one button. Email, boom, that's it, you're in our world.
Because it gets lost in the DM, that's such a bad place to send it.
Yeah.
But if I get like an event invite in there, I'm like, how am I gonna ever remember
That's the thing.
to open this, put it in my calendar, have no reference point.
Exactly.
Where does it, once I open, even if I allow it, right? Where does it fall in my DMs? I don't know how to find it again. It's gone.
True.
What if I forgot the brand name?
Guys, seriously, some really, really cool advices here, like I hope you're like taking notes on your little iPad.
I think the moral is don't expect the money though. Like, reach out and don't expect it. Work towards it, exactly. Yeah. Like if it's something that it's coming to you, fucking huzzah, like that's awesome, and that gives you full reign to decide at what point your time, effort, and what that costs. But otherwise, like I think it's working towards those relationships first and having fun with whatever you're doing, and
building your page,
building your business, exactly.
And
one step at a time, because I don't know about you, but it took me 3 years before I even got paid on my first job.
Oh, for
so
sure.
this is not.
That's what I mean. Like people that say
this is not a
instant.
tomorrow process.
No.
It is something
The
that.
long game.
I think that's
Yeah.
really important to understand, you know, because you look at all these established bloggers, you know, and influencers, and you're kind of like, oh my god, I want that kind of easy flow. That doesn't work.
It
like
does
this.
not happen overnight.
And imagine.
And some people it does. Bless
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah.
Like good for them. They figured it out right quick. Like, but I mean
most
the reality
people
is
don't.
most people don't.
Most people
And
don't.
you know.
And it's like any business. Like some businesses open and they are an instant success.
Yeah.
Lines out the door. Some people open a business and it takes them a year to get off the ground. It takes them 3 years to be successful. It varies. I don't think anything's instant unless you're lucky.
Yeah. Unless you've got famous friends.
Yeah, you know that kind of like, you know, tag me and things like
You've
that.
got some famous friends.
Yeah.
Tagged.
Well, the reality is that, you know, that's what I mean. Like, you know, like when I started hanging out and working with influencers, like my account grew like by 30K in a year, you know, which is kind of crazy.
It's wild.
Nice.
Just like by
associating
just
yourself
like literally,
digitally.
yeah, because like every time, you know, like I would appear in their stories, they're like, who's this crazy person?
Right.
They're like, oh, she's actually
You
like,
like
you
her.
know, she's actually, well, she's not the crazy relative, you know, she's actually our business manager, and they're like, kind of like, oh my god, she's nuts, you know, and that's how I got my following. But at the end of the day, it's up to you guys, you know, what you're gonna do with your influence, if you already have that, or if you're intending to build one, you know, just like be conscious, you know, stay alert and be open to opportunities and to different types of abundance, you know, because it not always comes like, you know, in cash flows, you know, and it does sometimes. And it's also really nice, you know, to be open to whatever, you know, it's nice to even have like a product for free and actually
Definitely.
yeah, it's so nice, isn't it? It's like a beautiful
That's
thing.
brilliant.
Whenever you get something in the post, I got like a bag in the post the other day, and I was
You're like,
literally,
yay!
I was
Christmas.
so happy. I've done like 50 different like stories, and I was just like, oh my god, like this means the world.
Yeah.
Seriously, and it's like nice. Be grateful for whatever you're getting. So
That's right.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. So DM, comment, you know, like tag, post, you know, share it to your friends. This is gonna be uploaded to YouTube and Spotify. We have a Spotify podcast as well. So for those who are gonna be listening, you know, cheers to you guys. Thank you so much for being with us, and you know, can't wait for the next one. And yeah, tell us what you want to hear next. You know, what are your ideas? Send those, and we're definitely gonna consider them. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here. That's it. Wrap.